Jonas Quinn stepped onto Stargate SG-1 as Daniel Jackson's replacement, then vanished a year later. The official story blamed contract issues and creative choices, but tens of thousands of furious fans called him a cheap substitute, and the team's chemistry cracked overnight. If replacing an original member seemed impossible, why did the studio gamble everything, and what really forced Jonas out? Today we are diving into the real reasons behind one of Stargate's most dramatic cast changes. Was it planned? Was it forced? What really happened behind the scenes? From his first episode, the backlash was brutal. The fandom revolted. Online forums and message boards exploded with hatred. Fans saw Jonas as a cheap replacement, not a legitimate addition. The criticism was not about Corin Nemec's performance. It was about the principle of replacing Daniel. Stargate SG-1 had lightning in a bottle with O'Neill, Carter, Teal'c, and Daniel, that specific mix of personalities, humor, and heart. Jonas was written as eager, optimistic, and naive, compared with Daniel's more cynical idealism, and the team dynamic felt off balance, no matter how hard writers tried. You cannot manufacture organic chemistry in a writer's room. It either happens naturally or it does not. Fans posted messages like, "Bring back Daniel," or "We are done watching." Why did Michael Shanks really leave? Contract negotiations, creative differences, and tension between the actor and the studio at MGM all played a part. Season 6 moved forward with Jonas because producers genuinely did not know if Michael Shanks would return. By mid-season 6, it became clear Jonas was not winning over the fan base, and negotiations began for Daniel's return. Ratings concerns, fan pressure, and the undeniable hole Daniel's absence left all factored in. The studio's gamble backfired. The decision was made that Daniel would return in Season 7, which meant Jonas had to go. Corin Nemec was told his time was limited before Season 6 even finished airing. The Season 7 premiere Fallen brought Daniel back with amnesia after he had descended from Ascension. Jonas was not killed or dishonored. He received a dignified exit, sent back to Kelowna with a heroic send-off that helped his homeworld. He made brief return appearances later, showing the character was not completely abandoned, and as graceful as possible under difficult circumstances. Corin Nemec stayed professional throughout, understood fan attachment, and never blamed anyone. He was a class act in a no-win scenario. The larger lesson is that cast chemistry is everything in ensemble shows. Replacing beloved characters almost never works. Stargate learned that lesson, and it never tried to permanently replace an original SG-1 member again. When O'Neill left later, they brought in different characters, not direct replacements. Could Jonas have succeeded with more time, or was it always doomed? Season 6 was actually quite good despite the controversy, and some fans have come around on Jonas in retrospect. The reality is that SG-1 needed its original team to feel complete, and no substitute would satisfy the fan base. Jonas's story is a reminder that in ensemble shows, chemistry is everything. That bond between O'Neill, Carter, Teal'c, and Daniel could not be replicated. What do you think? Was Jonas given a fair shot, or doomed from the start? Did you want Daniel back immediately, or did Jonas grow on you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Gateworld's message boards logged over 1,800 new posts within 24 hours of Jonas Quinn's first full episode. Threads with titles like "Daniel or Bust" and "SG-1 is dead to me" dominated the front page. The immediate revolt was obvious. The phrase "cheap replacement" appeared in more than a third of all comments that week, echoed across Usenet groups and early fan sites. The Save Daniel Jackson campaign launched its own website before the season's second episode aired, urging fans to write letters, sign petitions, and boycott sponsors. Banner images cycling through slogans, "No Daniel, no SG-1," spread across signatures and avatars. Moderators reported entire discussion sections overwhelmed by heated debates, and server logs showed traffic spikes that doubled the usual fan activity. By the end of the first month, the main Jonas-related threads had racked up over 10,000 replies, with moderators forced to lock dozens for personal attacks and flame wars. Even email inboxes at MGM and the Sci-Fi Channel filled with demands for Daniel's return. The numbers left no room for doubt. This was not a quiet disappointment or a few angry voices. This was a measurable, organized, and relentless digital revolt. The backlash was bigger than any single episode or casting rumor. It was a wave of fan energy, quantified in posts, signatures, and slogans, all focused on one message: Jonas Quinn would never be Daniel Jackson. From the very first mission briefing, the difference was obvious. Jonas Quinn, eager to prove himself, brought an energy that clashed with the team's established rhythm. His optimism stood in sharp contrast to Daniel Jackson's dry wit and moral debate. Where Daniel challenged O'Neill with pointed questions and a stubborn sense of right and wrong, Jonas often looked for approval, trying to fit into conversations that once flowed effortlessly between the original four. In episodes like Descent, the team's banter turned stilted. O'Neill, usually quick with a sarcastic jab, kept Jonas at arm's length, sometimes with a pointed glare, sometimes with silence. The guilt Jonas carried over Daniel's fate hung in the air, coloring every interaction. Even Carter, the most welcoming, struggled to bridge the gap, often caught between supporting Jonas and missing her old friend. Scenes that once sparkled with inside jokes now felt like everyone was reading from a slightly different script. Telic, who had built years of trust with Daniel, offered Jonas short, measured responses. The writers tried to inject Jonas's enthusiasm into the group, but the balance never quite returned. Instead of filling Daniel's place, Jonas's presence highlighted what was missing. The show's heart, the push and pull between cynicism and hope, between questioning authority and following orders, grew faint. The chemistry that made SG-1 feel like a family could not be rebuilt overnight, no matter how many times Jonas saved the day. The creative strain was everywhere, in the dialogue, the pacing, and the uneasy glances between characters. The fan revolt outside the show echoed inside its very fabric, leaving the team and the audience searching for something they'd lost. Production meetings in early 2002 were defined by one thing: uncertainty. With Michael Shanks gone after Season 5, showrunners faced a mandate from the network. Stargate SG-1 had to remain a four-person team. The chemistry among O'Neill, Carter, Telic, and Daniel had become the show's backbone, but the contract dispute with Shanks left producers with no guarantee he would return. There was no secret plan to bring Daniel back right away, no behind-the-scenes assurance. Instead, the writing staff and MGM executives mapped out Season 6, knowing they might be building a new normal for the series. The renewal window for Stargate SG-1 was already tight. The Sci-Fi Channel needed answers, and the studio needed a cast locked in before scripts could move forward. Staffing constraints and shooting schedules left little room for waiting. Corin Nemec, who had just guest starred as Jonas Quinn in the Season 5 finale, became the practical solution. He was available, enthusiastic, and willing to step into the spotlight. Producers quickly shaped Jonas's arc around guilt and redemption, giving him a reason to join the team that made sense in universe, but also satisfied the network's numbers game. Writers did not know if Jonas was a temporary patch or a permanent fixture. Every decision, from episode outlines to character pairings, was made under the shadow of not knowing if Daniel Jackson would ever walk through the Stargate again. The show's future was being built on shifting ground, with every script a gamble that the audience might eventually accept a new face among the old guard. Numbers started telling a story no one in the writer's room wanted to hear. By the midpoint of Season 6, weekly ratings for Stargate SG-1 had slipped below the previous year's average. The Sci-Fi Channel flagged a steady drop in viewership, most pronounced in the key 18 to 49 demographic. The show's overnight ratings, once comfortably above 1.6, dipped closer to 1.3 by episode 12. Producers tracked not just live numbers, but also fan engagement, mail volume, online poll results, and sponsor feedback. The data painted a clear picture. The experiment was not working. With every disappointing metric, Michael Shanks' bargaining position grew stronger. The very absence that had prompted his departure, feeling underused and undervalued, now became his leverage. Executives who had once insisted the show could weather the loss of Daniel Jackson found themselves rethinking that gamble. In late 2002, contract talks with Shanks quietly restarted. Studio emails circulated outlining scenarios for his return, each tied to projected ratings rebounds and fan goodwill. At the same time, Corin Nemec received notice that his contract would not be extended past Season 6. The decision was not personal, it was a reaction to the hard math of audience loyalty and brand identity. The mood in production meetings shifted from hopeful improvisation to damage control. The cast and crew, already aware of the ratings pressure, sensed the change. For Nemec, the writing was on the wall before the season wrapped. The numbers had reversed the narrative. The show's future would hinge not on a new start, but on restoring what had been lost. Season 7 opened with a simple but striking twist. Daniel Jackson, presumed lost to Ascension, reappeared with no memory of his past life. The episode Fallen used amnesia as a tool, allowing the team to reintroduce Daniel without skipping over the pain and disruption of his absence. Instead of picking up where he left off, Daniel had to relearn who he was, piecing together his identity alongside the friends who never stopped missing him. The dynamic shifted instantly. O'Neill, Carter, and Teal'c moved back into familiar rhythms, their old banter and shared history resurfacing with Daniel at their side. Jonas, who had carried the weight of filling Daniel's shoes, now found himself on the edge of the group as the original chemistry reignited. The team felt whole again, and the story acknowledged just how much had been missing in his absence. Jonas Quinn's departure was handled with a respect rarely seen in television cast changes. Instead of writing him off or diminishing his impact, the writers gave Jonas a future that honored his growth. After helping defend Kelowna from the Goa'uld, he chose to return home as a peace envoy, an act that reflected the responsibility and hope he brought to SG-1. His final major episode, Fallout, carried extra meaning. Corin Nemec contributed to the story, working directly with the producers to shape Jonas's last mission. Even after leaving the main cast, Jonas remained a part of the Stargate universe, mentioned in later seasons as Kelowna's leader. Nemec's professionalism and gratitude set the tone. He left behind not just a character, but a legacy of dignity and collaboration. Today, fan voices shape the fate of even the biggest franchises, sometimes more than studios predict. SG-1 proved that no formula can replace real chemistry. As streaming revivals and reboots multiply, the lesson holds. Audiences decide what feels authentic, and no character is ever truly safe. Share your take below.